All right, we are live.
All right, thank you. So we just came out of non-public session, so we're rejoining into the live session of the public session of our meeting for October 27th, 2020. Our next item on the agenda is consideration of minutes of previous meetings. Everybody got the minutes from Peter? If anybody had a chance to take a look at them? And if so, if we have a motion.
I'll make a motion to accept the minutes.
There it is.
Okay, we have a motion from Chris Burns. Do we have a second?
Second.
That was a second from Steve Weber. So any discussion on the meeting minutes? All right, hearing none, we'll call a vote. So I'll do a roll call. Mr. Ruggles?
Aye.
Mr. Burns?
Aye.
Well, you guys switch spots on me now. Colleen? We couldn't hear you, Colleen.
Sorry, I raised my hand, but.
Mike?
Abstain.
Peter?
Aye.
Steve?
Abstain.
And Steve W.
Aye.
All right, and I'll say aye, so it carries, and I believe that's 502. Or 602. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 602.
Thanks.
All right, so those meeting minutes are approved and can be sent to the town clerk. All right, then we have public input. I know we have Jake here, but he's not here really for public input unless you have something else you'd like to present here for us, Jake. No?
Not on public input, no.
Okay. And I don't think we have any other callers in, so we'll close public input. The next item we have is a facility and field requests, and we have Jake Dodge talking about our cornhole. So Jake, if you could give us your name and address and tell us what we're looking to do.
Yeah, so thank you guys for allowing me here. So my name is Jake Dodge. You said address too, is that what you said?
Yes.
Yeah, so I'm at 19 Garden here in Litchfield. And I have started a company where we own road races. So we put on 3 events this year, one of which was that Litchfield Police and Fire 5K. And just kind of looking to do a few more in the coming years, including a potential cornhole tournament at Sawmill. So I had put together a whole idea of what this would look like. I have done one in the past when I had done the Boston Marathon for charity. We do one for charity. And a portion of everything I do is donated to animal rescue. That's kind of the logo on the hat is the company logo that I started. It's called Unleashed, where we have 2 dogs. One is a super active Vizsla. So he's kind of the inspiration behind the activity and sports and events. And then the animal rescue part is our second dog is a rescue from Puerto Rico. So anything that we do, we team up with local nonprofits and do a portion of everything there. So in the past, when I've done the Boston Marathon for charity, we've done a cornhole tournament, which has been a great fundraiser. And it's also just a great time. And I have people consistently now that still email me and ask when the next one is. So would love to do one at Sawmill with a portion of proceeds benefiting animal rescue. I have a whole team behind me that helps me put on the events and everything of the like. There's no date in mind. There's nothing really particular. I mean, I've measured out the field. I talked to the police chief about potentially having a beer vendor there. Obviously, I've worked with the liquor and wine outlets and the liquor commission before to get the approval for that extended permit with our vendors. And he was on board with that as long as we hired an officer, which is built into our budget for the event. But yeah, I just wanted to kind of approach the idea and see if it would be something that I can look into more proceeding in 2021.
All right, so I had a question because originally, and I must not have read it correctly, I thought we were looking to do it at Dara. I guess maybe I just assumed Dara. So what was the draw for Sawmill over Dara?
It was parking, and if you look at just the openness of the area, it worked a lot better doing it at the fields at Sawmill. than it does at Dara. So Sawmill, I believe, has 208 spots, which would allow, we always in the event say you want to multiply your total number of spots by 1.5, and that's going to be your sellout number. So that'd be over 300, and we're going to be nowhere near that. So that was the draw, was to do it at Sawmill, and also it's easier for potential vendors to access Sawmill than it is driving on fields, etc. at Dara. So it would alleviate any of that, and you wouldn't have any problems with that.
And now, when you talk to the police chief, he did understand that you were talking about a vendor and not a BYOB event, correct?
100%. Yep. Yeah, I talked to him when we were in the final stages of the Litchfield 5K. We chatted, and he fully understood that we, work with a vendor, a reputable vendor to come out on site to acquire all the legal permits and everything by the books, and was just asking, just basics of the event. And as long as we have an officer there, he was good with it.
So I guess, my only concern, and I think it's great that to do something like this. Obviously, anything we can do to as a fundraiser for charities is good. I guess my two concerns would be, number one, Sawmill with the neighbors, because there is a close proximity to a lot of people. There are a lot of people that abut the fields there. That was the one thing that we had at Dara, that we really only had that one person, that one house that sort of abuts the fields. Everything else is kind of isolated. And then my other concern would be just our liability, because liability changes drastically, I would imagine. This is something we just need to talk to our insurance and town council about, as far as there's a big difference between people bringing their own alcohol and consuming it, as opposed to it being sold on the premises. Now, I don't know what we would incur as additional liability in that case.
Yeah, well, did someone want to chime in there? So we get insurance for the event, and all of our events go through insurance, and they all have everything covered. And then we always additionally insure the town as a certificate holder. And that I walk through that with our insurer, with everything in terms of what we're giving away. If we're giving away alcohol, if we're selling alcohol, if it's on private property, if it's on public land, we do everything. And then we just go ahead and we do the additional certificate of insurance. So for instance, it would be issued to the town in this case.
And Jake, did you say you were bringing in licensed vendors? So it's actually so those folks know what they're doing. I think that would actually give us better protections because they have their own insurance and they are, have to meet their own regulations for what they do. So
yeah, exactly. We'd be teaming up with someone, whether it's a local brewery, like you'd say a Pipe Dream or something, or just teaming up with a bigger distributor, like a Bellavance or a Sam Adams or something, that would come in. And obviously they do this all the time, and they're always going out and doing it. So they know exactly what they need on their end and exactly what we need on our end. And then we work with them to go ahead and alleviate and just secure any permits that we would need. And just to go back to that other point about the neighbors, what we like to do for everything is we print out an 8.5 by 11, and we'll go around to every house that would be affected by it and just hand deliver it a couple weeks before, to just let them know. And obviously we're not starting this anytime early. So, obviously with a road race, you usually start at around 8 or 9 in the morning. This would be something that probably wouldn't start till a little before noon.
And it would end by
4 or 5 o'clock.
Okay. So we're not talking late into the night either.
Oh, no. Once you start getting into nighttime, then we have to start renting lights, which gets super expensive. So we don't want to deal with that.
What about like music and the such?
Yeah, there would be music, which would be by, I know there are some people in town that do it. I like to use as many local people as I can. So we would be going ahead and, sourcing someone there. You're always going to have a couple people that reach out in terms of the music's too loud, or, why is their music playing? But we try to keep it to a reasonable low roar, if you will, where it can entertain and create the atmosphere, but it's not blowing people out of the water, there or locally.
Jake, how many teams are you looking to host?
So we were looking at 60 to 90. It really depends. I mean, if you look at that field, I have the field broken down. I mean, all the rules of cornhole, basically, if you had to have a 40-foot by a 10-foot lane, you can get everything you need into that lane. And that it allows for about 5 feet of space all around it. So what we wanted to do was we wanted to make it actually a 60 by 30. So that gives people 20 feet of space between each lane. Just in case we are still in these times of COVID, that's a lot more distance than we would need, but you can fit about 35 lanes in just that one big soccer field. Right when you get down the first field on the left, you can fit about 35. We wouldn't be doing 35. We'd only be doing 30, 25 to 30, which kind of relates to how many teams we have. Because obviously, if we only have 60, people are going to be waiting and you're going to be using every single board all the time. But if you have those, 75 to 90 teams, you have 15 to 30 extras. So you cycle and actually makes the tournament move quicker than if you just had double the number of whatever you had for lanes.
Now, do you provide the porta potties?
Yep. Yeah. We will rent everything we need. So we work with United Site Services right now for anything that we need in terms of road races. We had a few delivered for our event in Nashua last month. But yeah, we rent porta potties. We do all the vendors. We provide everything from soup to nuts, and then we leave the place looking better than it was when we got there.
Yeah, because the one thing we do have a couple of trash barrels down there, but obviously it'd be, considerably more trash generated.
Oh yeah. I mean, we have everything here. Well, I don't have everything at the house. I have a lot of things here at the house in terms of tents, tables, table covers, flags, trash cans. And then we normally try to get as many local teams also involved as we can. So we would probably reach out to a couple groups here in town where they come and they can just check the trashes for us on a 4-hour basis, and then we make a donation to their charity on the back end of it.
Jake, is this a private organization for profit and then a large percentage going to charities? Is that how I understand it?
Yeah. So I'm a sole proprietor LLC registered. And basically, I've always done this on the side. Since COVID happened, I lost my full-time job. So I've been looking at ways to kind of do this more full-time because, I started one race 4 years ago, and now it's become one of the more popular independent races here in the area. Down in Nashua. And so it just, also in this time of COVID, I've been working with other little clients who want to put on golf tournaments. And so we found a safe way to do that. So I have a couple golf tournaments planned that are both fun and obviously going back to charity. So we take things a little differently. And, I worked in experiential advertising for 10 years, which is where I get my background on doing national tours and local one-stops for Fortune 500 companies, and we really want to focus on the experience for each and every person there.
So, Jake, because one of the things I was thinking is, in other words, one of the things we want to do is obviously provide recreational activities for the town, which this would include. But where you said the charities, so this is something that we could have softball, baseball, basketball, soccer, if they wanted to contribute by checking the trash, like you said, or doing something, we could actually be fundraising for a local sports group as well. Because I know they're sort of hurting a little bit.
Yeah, absolutely. That's something that, as we look forward to a separate event, which is the Litchfield, Police and Fire 5K next year, I'm already making sure that the fire and the police are reaching out to the schools to reach out to the track and cross country teams, because it's a great fundraiser for them if they can get out and they can stand on the course as opposed to having a couple police and firefighters. It just kind of brings everything in, full circle. So if you have those soccer players or that organization that's utilizing those fields, it is a great fundraiser for them. And like, I use trash as an example. There are multiple ways for them to raise money. So, if they can provide us 10 volunteers to help with parking for 2 hours, great. It's a couple $100 from whatever organization can do that. And we're not just limiting it to one. So if we have 3 or 4 different spots where we need volunteers or groups, that's something where we can work with, different organizations to go ahead and do that.
So, Steve,
Assume,
one thing I was thinking is, I guess my only concerns, and again, I say concerns, just want to make sure that we cover our bases, is, the insurance and the legality. So is that something to sort of save a lot of back and forth and meetings? Do you think it would be smart maybe to set Jake up with Troy Brown, and he can sort of have them contact our insurance company, town council, whatever it needs to be done, and I just want to make sure all the ducks are in a row there, so that we don't want to go through with all this stuff and all of a sudden have Troy get something from legal saying, "Hey, by the way, you can't, do this." Not that I'd expect that, but what do you think about doing something like that?
Definitely, I can get them both together easily. I think it's a good idea.
Yeah, because that way we'd have the input from the police chief and good on that end, and then would be good with insurance and town council if they had any, things that they wanted to put into a contract just to sort of mitigate our liability, and make sure that we don't expose the town to issues. But I think it would be a great thing. And then Jake, I think, once we do that, then you start figuring out dates. The big thing would be with Sawmill coordinating it. We don't want to be shutting down soccer for a day. We'd want to try and coordinate it so that it doesn't impact soccer or lacrosse in the spring. Or what were you looking at for dates?
So ideally, it would be anytime in August. It's more of a summer thing anyway.
Okay.
So but I'm totally flexible on whatever.
Well, Mike, if I'm correct, August would be a lot better than spring.
Yeah, August would be, maybe avoid that last weekend in August, but like the rest of August, probably wide open. Even that last weekend, this year was a little different because Labor Day was so late.
Mm-hmm.
Usually when Labor Day is earlier, that last weekend of August is open as well. But August is usually an easier one. Between anytime, let's put it this way, anytime after Father's Day, after that weekend through, Labor Day is usually pretty wide open on weekends.
Yeah. And ideally it would be, that's where I had it slotted. If I had to make a potential schedule for 2021, it would be in the month of August.
All right.
Are these professional teams? Can you give us an idea of where the teams come from, how they're assembled? Can people, if someone in town says, "Hey, I'm going to get me and my buddy, me and Andy Ruggles are going to become a team," how do we apply? How much does it cost? How do we do it?
Yeah, no, absolutely. It's a great question. So what we normally do is, we team up with, there's a couple of cornhole associations around the area. There's 603, there's Wicked Cornhole, there's a few of them. And we just kind of let them know that it's out there. But it really is more for, locals and just people to have fun. So we have a huge group at our, in our friend circle where we'll go and we'll have like 6 to 12 teams, that just play cornhole. So what you would normally do is, there'd be an online registration platform. The team captain will go on there, find a partner. He would fill out their information. Usually it's between $50 and $100 per team. And that comes usually with a drink ticket for each person. It comes with some sort of swag item, a t-shirt or some sort of trucker hat, whatever it is. And then it guarantees you 3 games of cornhole throughout the day. And we have people at each lane that just regulate, the cornhole rules or whatever. It's nothing professional. No, I shouldn't say that. It's put on professionally, but we're not encouraging, professional people to come out and play because, we give away fun prizes. So we have prizes for the best team name. We have prizes for the top, 3 or 4 overall teams. And we do a little different with our prizes. So for the top team, each teammate actually gets one of the wrestling, full wrestling championship belt. And that's our prize giveaway for the top team. But, we have other fun things, that we give out throughout the day as well.
Now, how about ages? Considering there's going to be alcohol, is it going to have to be restricted to 21 and over? Or if we have an officer there, is it going to be the rules a little lenient?
So it's more as long as we can rope off the entire beer garden and you have someone there at the entrance, then you can have it open to all ages. Usually for cornhole, I say you usually put 16 plus. And I only say that because actually one of the best cornhole players in the state is 16. And he is just insane with his talent. But yeah, it's usually we say 16 plus because if you have, I mean, the younger kids are great to play, but the games take a lot longer and it really drags on to the day. And where we are kind of marketing it more towards like, hey, come out and, one of the taglines is be the boss of the toss. And it's really, advertised to be more of a adult event. But yeah, I mean, as long as they're over 16, you can sign up, but they do need to have parental consent when they register. And also, as long as we rope that beer garden off where no alcohol goes outside of that, and that'd be 21 plus going into that area only.
All right.
How about like food vendors? We have like food trucks, possibly stuff like that.
Yep. I mean, that's definitely something that we always look for if we are serving alcohol is to have some sort of food vendor there. Whether it's a food truck, that's great because they bring everything. If not, then it's not hard for us to source. It'd be hard to kind of work with Romano's only because our request for amount of pizzas would be huge. And they'd really, take them down for a little while. But I mean, if it'd be great to work with them or other partners where we would bring in food, so there are food options available throughout the day.
So you guys wouldn't be bringing those trucks or the vehicles on the grass itself. That you'd utilize that road around the perimeter.
Exactly. Yep. Yeah, there would be no vehicles on the field. There'd be no need for that.
All right. So I think at this point we're unless somebody else has something, we're probably good. I would say, Steve, if you don't mind getting Jake connected with Troy, sort of investigate that, and I'll talk to Troy as well. And then as we get closer, Jake, maybe before we do a formal request, we can take a look at what you're looking at and where you're setting things up, maybe a diagram so we know.
Yep. Yeah, I already have a mock-up of everything to scale in terms of field usage, what will be used for vendors, ideal places for the beer garden, parking spots, and everything else. So yeah.
Perfect. All right. I think we're good.
Perfect. I appreciate it. Yeah. If you can connect me, Steve, to Troy, who I believe is who I worked with for the Litchfield 5K. I believe that that's Josh Anderson on the fire department handled that for us, but I can ask him if that's who it was. But yeah, if you can connect me, then I can just make sure that I can send him samples of what we normally give to the town because I have a copy of everyone, and just make sure that that's good for him.
Definitely, I'll put you guys in contact with each other tomorrow.
That'd be great.
Thank you.
Jake, you could put me down as a point of contact too for the Recreation Commission if you need somebody. I'll be around to help.
Perfect. Thanks, Steve. Yeah. Like I said, I'm not working right now, so this is a big focus of mine is getting some events off the ground for 2021. And then we'll love to work with you and see where we can go with it.
Sounds good.
All right. Very good. Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you for the time, guys.
Thanks.
Have a good night.
You too.
All right. I don't believe we have any other field requests. I do need to loop back and I haven't been able to touch base with Red Cross, so we do need to. I will get back on the next meeting about that. So new business. Let's do the RFP at the end because I think that's going to be the most discussion. So community events calendar. I'm assuming is this Colleen?
Nope.
Or was this stemming from a conversation about the road races and communication, or?
What's it? I didn't ask anything to be added to the agenda. Peter?
This was from Andy. Was this you or Steve?
Might have been me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Steve.
Yeah, I think it kind of stemmed from the conversation that was last week or 2 weeks ago when I wasn't here. And Colleen made some good points that there's a lot going on in town that we're not aware of or we're not involved in. And we're finding out afterwards. In fact, how many people knew that this weekend there was people utilizing the rope course? No one, right? And I was down there talking to the guy, and he, I told him if we had a community calendar, it would have been great to let people know that they can come down and at least witness it and see it, and then possibly join this group or whatever it was that was doing it. So I'm just thinking we need a community calendar. I did there is one we created on Google Calendars. It's up on. I've been modifying the webpage. If you guys haven't been looking, it's on the webpage, and I just think it'd be great if we can get some kind of formal communication and community calendar going out about all the recreational commission or anything that's going on in town. So we have one spot where everybody can go to, more than just, the local sports and who's using what fields, but more of, there's a road race going on. Let everybody know there's, this team's down using the rope course. We're going to have a cornhole, tournament hopefully coming up. Just the whole idea that I think we need to be a little bit more, we need our fingers on the pulse a little bit more on what's going on in town.
All right, so Steve, would you mind if I'm thinking, if you don't mind taking this on, which it seems like you've already started, and but maybe you could sort of coordinate a database of these different organizations and sort of be the point contact. And if you want, like when we run into different groups in town, to say, hey, let Steve know, and basically have them email you and sort of build up that contact list, and so that they can just streamline to you, hey, we have these events going on, and you can put them onto the calendar. I mean, it'll probably take a year or so to build that up, but every time we can add things, the local sports groups. I mean, I know they have regular sports going on, but like softball, when they have their big, any big tournaments that are going on, it would be nice to put it up there so people come down, family fun day,
Well, yeah.
what it is.
Yeah, perfect, Andy, because even this weekend, I believe soccer's holding their Halloween
Jamboree.
Thank you. And I know they're always, it's their fundraising event. So softball has their fundraising event. So it's not just, you just don't want the soccer players there. You want to bring community in so they can fundraise.
Well, besides this year.
Yeah. They have masks. If they have masks.
Yeah. So Steve, do you mind being the point of contact for all that?
No problem. I'll work with John too. Maybe we can get a separate email that that people could send it to, so we could all review it and update the calendar. I think you have to give me permission to modify the calendar, Andy. I don't think I have right access. That's something we can work offline.
Okay.
We have a rec Facebook page too, don't we? Or
I believe so.
Yeah. I don't know how. I don't think it's me. I don't do Facebook, so I have no idea.
Yeah.
It just seemed like it'd be nice to have, updates and like posts and, hey, this is what we got going on. Maybe share the, basketball tryouts and stuff like that. Just be a little bit more active. Getting stuff out there.
There is one. I'm not sure if Keith Buxton used to maintain it.
I think he did.
Yeah.
I know.
I think since Colleen doesn't have a Facebook page, I feel like she should probably run a rec page. That way she'd only have one.
You're right.
Sorry.
So you think it was Keith Buxton? I'll reach out to Keith and see if he can give me.
Yeah, he definitely maintained it, Steve. Yeah. I'm not sure what the login was or password. I don't know.
Yeah. All right, that sounds good. And then our next item was the board members' attendance removal. I know this has been a discussion. I don't know if this is something that what we would like to accomplish with this. So who put that on?
That would be me. Kind of goes back to the point that when we were just talking about Mr. Buxton. I've been, I think, a member of this board almost 2 years, and I've never met the man. So should he still be a member of the board? We have 2 alternates right now that we should be able to move up into as full-time members. And then also I think we should be recruiting for more alternates to bring in more fresh blood. Then I also, when do we nominate officers or chairs and all that kind of stuff? I'm still trying to learn this process. So I'm trying to figure out.
It's generally done right after the elections in March. I think that's what we put into our bylaws. We really didn't do it this past year. So I don't believe we did.
All right. And how about the other thing about removing members in the requirements of attendance?
And again, that's something we'd have to put into the bylaws. So I mean, we can, if you want to maybe, we can discuss it here. And then I would think probably the best thing to do is to come up with a proposal to change our bylaws so we can vote on that. Again, any changes, and I've really got to go back through. I know that we do have to propose the change, and then we have to vote on it at the next meeting. So we can't make a change. So in other words, maybe our next meeting, if somebody has a proposal to change our bylaws as far as attendance and removal of a member, we can discuss that and propose it, but then we cannot vote on it till the next meeting because we have to give that next meeting's time. You know, that's our time frame on our current bylaws. Then we can vote on it the following meeting and make it part of our bylaws. We would then present that to the Board of Selectmen and have to get it approved any time we change our bylaws.
All right, I'll take a stab at that and try to modify the bylaws. Steve Weber, I think you said one of the other commissions had something similar. What I'm basically trying to do is plagiarize their bylaws and pull over what the verbiage says.
The only other one that I know has bylaws is the Budget Committee.
All right, I'll take a look at their info.
I know they definitely have one that deals with attendance.
Just to be clear, I'm not trying to ruffle anybody's feathers or anything else. I'm just trying to, keep us as a productive board and keep us moving forward and allow us to bring in more people as needed.
No, that's appreciated. And Colleen and Mike can attest to the meetings where we had months where we didn't have meetings because we didn't have enough people for a quorum. So this has been a nice change for the last year or so. All right. Any more discussion on that? So our other new item is the field maintenance RFP. So as you guys know, we got one bid in response to our RFP from TLC. And we need to discuss what we're going to do, whether accepting that bid or other options. So let me just pull up let me get what Troy sent us. So the RFP broke down basically a 1-year field and grounds mowing, trimming, fertilization program, and water management for the following per RFP: Darrow Fields at Talent Hall, Innis Soccer Field, Corning Road, baseball fields and grounds, Litchfield Park at Sawmill Brook, Entrance Road and tennis court area, Justin Bissett baseball complex, and the River Landing. The field mowing and trimming, $35,000. Field health maintenance, $24,700. And then gave terms, also saying irrigation system, spring activations, and fall winterizations are included in the proposal. Again, that is on file at Town Hall. It was sent to us by Troy Brown. So the total of $59,700 for the year. So normally what we'll do is once we get these after the official opening is we'll sort of make contact with the vendors just to clarify any questions, do references where we only had the one and we've dealt with this vendor before. There was no need for references. I did want to clarify if we did remove the non-fields, what the price would be. And I had asked TLC to do that. They did send that to me, and I was going to forward it, but I never got to it because of SATs. So he sent, this was actually sent last night. Wow, I'm way behind on my emails. So I'm going to forward this to you, but basically he said if those non-field areas were removed, it would actually drop the price to $50,000. So I can send this to everyone. And again, that we technically have to bid or vote on the bid given, but then no matter if we take this bid or going forward, I think we agreed what we're going to do is have town council, at least that was the feedback we got, Steve, if I'm correct, is town council was going to write the contract. Instead of us signing the vendor's contract, the town was going to write the contract and have the vendor sign, correct?
That is correct.
Andy, just so I'm clear, if we do take out the, those additional areas, that would then fall on the highway department, or they would just be left to grow and grow wild?
It would, well, what we would have to do is if we were going to not have those included in our current contract with the contractor, we would have to arrange for other arrangement. Yeah, we could either let them grow, which is not what we want to do. But the whole idea is we could probably do that a lot more cost effectively, with the highway department. So it would either be money that they would bill us interdepartmentally instead of us we wouldn't be able to hire another person, but it would allow them to utilize their part-time person to cut the fields and basically charge us that cost, which I would guess would be significantly less than $9,000.
And they're okay with that? They've told us that they will do that?
Yes.
Or is that still on the fence?
Steve, you had more conversations with Kevin than I have, but that was my understanding is he was very open to this and actually eager to do something similar to this.
That's correct. I didn't speak with Kevin, but I spoke with Troy, and that was what was conveyed to me.
Okay. And I believe that would he would also be doing the similar with the conservation for, the northern end of town and possibly the library. Things that aren't real high maintenance, fields are a different animal. Those take a lot of care and a lot of professional ability, whereas cutting down the grass at the river access, we don't need to hire a professional to do that.
Just a quick question for you, Andy. In regard to basically the contractor would be on the hook for what's in our RFP, correct? Just because I noticed that the bid seemed to leave out a couple things that seemed like they should have been in there, i.e. like spring cleanup was one of the things we added to the RFP. And then, I think aerating and overseeding was also part of it. And I didn't see that in the actual bid.
Right. So again, in the past, and we haven't been very diligent about this stuff. In his contract, it basically says per RFP, but that's why, again, we want to go to the town council and have them draw up the contract. So there's a lot of specific verbiage in that. No matter who the contractor is, we want to have that in there so that they're signing our contract, we're not signing their contract, and that way we can put every bit of that detail into that. Because like you said, if there's ambiguity in the contract, it's hard to enforce. And again, we need to be more specific, but then again, we don't want to pigeonhole and get us into a point where we're not experts in this, and we might require the wrong things. So just so that we can have discussion on it, and there's no other bid to talk about. So I'm going to make a motion to consider the bid from TLC for the 2021 field maintenance contract.
I'll second.
All right, so we have a motion and a second. So now we can have discussion on the acceptance of that proposal.
Just my only 2 cents here. My only concern from a town standpoint, looking out for the community, is that we have nothing to compare it to. We only got one bid, and I think the price is okay. I don't have anything to compare it to besides last year. And it's considerably higher than last year. That would be my only apprehension.
Well, if I remember correctly, out of the bids we got last year, weren't they the highest then as well? So I don't think, I mean, in comparison to last year, as far as TLC is concerned, I don't think their price is really, like, I think this is what they charge. I don't think they're overcharging. As far as they're concerned.
Let me see if I can find what they. Yeah, so the notes that we have, the three bids that we received last year, was TLC at 59,700. Natticook gave two different bids. If you remember, they were at 42,559 and 49,072, and then Proscape was 45,400, but it wasn't quite. It was missing one or two bits in the specs. So that was just from Troy's notes from an email that we got October 26th last year, so literally a year and a day ago.
If this vote fails, are we forced to rebid?
I'm sorry?
If this vote fails, are we forced to submit or request RFPs again?
We would need to reissue the RFP, correct?
Andy, was your motion to accept the full bid or the bid without the?
Well, I would. So this would be technically it would be the full bid. I think that we can amend that. Again, we're sort of in a weird area here because we don't know what the cost would be. Not that it would be, but I don't want to say save the $9,000 by not having them do this area and then have, I don't think it would be, Kevin come back and say, hey, it's going to cost you 20 grand for us to do it.
We need to vote on the bid at hand because that's what we put out as a formal proposal. So I think we need to do that because if we were going to amend it, therefore I think we'd have to put the whole proposal back out amended. So I think we have to vote on this bid as it is. And if this vendor is awarded, at that point, you can work with them on costs. But I think we need to look at it, what's in front of us.
Okay, that's what I figured.
Andy, how does this fit?
We did ask for two separate bids though from the break it out. So I think we have the option for either or.
Correct. You can accept one and not the other. So you could accept the maintenance, but not the mowing. How is it broken out?
Right. So we.
Yeah, you're right.
Yeah. Because we only have to go with what the sealed bid was. And we're sort of in a weird area because it's not with one bid. It's kind of tough. But Mike, what were you going to say?
My question is we saw what came back from the budget committee in terms of having to reduce our budget. Where are we in the where are we in our parameters of budget?
Well, this is something that we would have to, if we have a contract, and whenever we do have our field maintenance contract for next year, that's when we would have to go back to the budget committee to get that line item adjusted, whether it goes up or down. And also, Steve, this would also impact the default budget, correct? Because if we have a contract signed,
Yes.
it would impact that as well.
I mean, I'm just wondering off the top of my head, if we go over a number that we need to stay under, are we going to have to reduce elsewhere in our budget to figure out how to stay within our parameters given to us?
Well, I mean, technically, yeah, unless again we can amend our budget, which when we put our budget in, we basically said this is our number, but we don't know exactly what our number is going to be until we get our contract for the contractor. I mean, this is why in the past we've talked about doing multi-year contracts because it makes it a lot easier for the budgeting process. Obviously, with everything that's gone on, I think we're all in agreement. Year-to-year contracts at this point are the best way to go until we sort of feel a little bit more comfortable with everything that's going on.
To add a little clarification, when Mr. Ruggles and I worked on this, we kind of broke it out to the point where if it's irrigated, if we're watering it and we're spending money to water the grass, then let's treat it and have that company cut it as well. So like we had Dara and then Talent. Talent actually has a sprinkler system. So if the guy is down there taking care of Dara, he should take care of Talent as well. So it's pretty much all the fields are one, and then river access where it's just grass. The tennis court perimeters, it's just natural growth grass. It's not watered. It's not fertilized. It's not maintained. So we kind of, when you look at it, that's how it is. It's string trim and cut the grass or maintain fields, which would include, string trimming and fertilization and soil samples and all that. Obviously, we don't want soil samples at river access or in front of the tennis courts, but that's kind of how it broke out.
Yeah. And I mean, talking to both Ryan and Brian, and, they use different equipment for the different things too. It's, they use completely different equipment to cut the stuff up by the tennis courts than they would the fields, which you would hope. Any other discussion on the motion?
I'm going to say I'm just concerned with the lack of bids that we got back and with the increase based over. I believe looking at the budget right now, they have pinpointed $50,000 for field maintenance within the budget as a working number as we go through this until all the bids came in.
Right. That was reducing ours by what, 3,300?
I can't find the exact file right now that I'm looking for.
And I meant to ask, and I should have done it with Karen. Do you know where we're at currently with that line item? Because I thought we were going to be closer to 56 when all was said and done this year.
I don't know where we're at right now. I can try to pull that up. Was looking at the budget to see what we put in there. We're targeting to keep us under the tax cap. I think it was 50. Where were we right now? Weekly budget. Just gonna find the line item. Field maintenance. Right now we have captured year to date. We have spent $42,313.39.
All right. I'm not sure when the payments. I don't have the contract in front of me with the payment breakdown, so I don't know if that's where that's going to end.
I don't know either. This was through October 23rd is when this was ran.
Okay. Any other discussion? All right, hearing none, we'll do a roll call vote, and we'll start with Mr. Ruggles.
No.
I'm just going to keep track so I don't lose track this time. All right, Mr. Burns.
So I guess I don't know really how to vote, but I'd like to accept it, but with the additional items backed out, locations backed out.
All right, so basically I have to ask you if it's a yay or a nay.
Yeah, okay, I'll go yay.
Okay. Colleen,
Yay.
Mike,
Yes, sorry.
Yes.
Peter,
Yes.
Mr. Weber,
No.
Mr. Gannon,
I am also a no.
and I am a yes. So that means the motion does carry 5-3-0. All right, so at this point, what we'll do is contact. So Steve, at this point, we can talk about the price, correct?
Yeah, I guess you got to talk about the price. So I guess what happens now is you've got to review it for correctness with Troy,
Okay,
right? And then it's got to go to the Board of Selectmen for approval before the contract's actually granted.
right.
Can be
And then it would have to go to town council for the contract, right?
contract, yeah. But the acceptance of the bids have to go through yourself and Troy have to talk, and then it has to be approved by the Board of Selectmen.
Okay, so I will contact him tomorrow to get that process in place.
But we as a group, if we want to talk about reductions to what we accepted, I believe we're free to do that right now.
Okay. And like I said, what he did send me as an amendment to his bid when I requested it. I think I sent it to you guys. You should have received it in your emails. Is that, and again, it's really just a one cost thing, and I think we need to get a lot more detail in the contract that we have signed, but it would bring the cost down by $9,700 if we remove those peripheral areas of the tennis courts, the road leading to Sawmill, and river access. So I think that's probably something that we can probably get Troy involved with, Steve, as far as finalizing it, because we'd need to get numbers from, before we know what our budget number would be, we would have to get the cost of that from Kevin and the highway department, correct?
Definitely, yeah. We'd have to work with Troy and say, okay, if we reduce this out of the scope of the contract, what is the cost to have the town pick it up?
Okay. Any discussion on that? I mean, it's not really I don't know if we have a motion that we can make on that piece. So I guess my other question is, if it gets turned down by the Board of Selectmen, we will have to reissue the RFP, correct?
That is correct.
Okay. I'm just
Excuse me.
worrying timeline. So again, we'd sort of have to expedite that. So when is the one? So that would be next Monday at the Board of Selectmen meeting?
No, our next meeting is November 9th.
November 9th. Okay. And then we'll have a meeting the next night anyway. So that'll timing wise, that'll be good. Okay. I just didn't know if we'd have to get it, if we had to react to reissuing something that we would have to call a special meeting, but that lines up with our meeting well. All right. And I think that was it for new business. Any old business? Hearing none, we'll go to other. I don't know why we have other as an agenda. I guess you always need that.
Oh, another note is I believe the budget committee cut the website costs for the rec out of John's budget. So that's going to have to be picked up by the rec budget.
And do you know what that cost is?
I don't know.
It's $300 a year.
There you go.
Okay. I was wondering, worried it was going to be like $3,500 or something.
No.
To say, Steve, see if you can get, just transfer everything over to Facebook. Be done.
I did find the rec page and shot the link in the chat over to everybody. It was updated on November 2019, and before that it was November 2018.
So it's consistent. So so we're not due for another update till next month.
That's right.
Right around Thanksgiving, we could do another one.
It's probably been updated. My guess is the Turkey Bowl.
That's probably it. Yeah.
Exactly. It was the Turkey Bowl that did it.
Okay. All right. So if you hear nothing else, I guess we will look for a motion for to adjourn.
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
All right. So we have a motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
A second.
Motion by Mike, a second by Chris. I'll do a roll call vote. Mr. Ruggles,
Aye.
Mr. Burns.
Aye.
Colleen,
Aye.
Mike,
Aye.
Peter,
Aye.
Mr. Gannon.
Aye.
And Mr. Weber.
Aye.
And I say aye, so that carries. I keep losing track. That's 800. All right, we are adjourned.
Good night, folks.
Thanks, Andy.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Good night, everybody.
Take care, everyone.